As you're weak in the area, you start to focus on your weak area versus focusing on your strength. So you want to pick partners that can pick up the weak area so you can continue to get better at the thing you're already strong at.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Commander Talk. We have real conversations with real people about life. I'm your co-host, Eric Johnson, along with my other co-host, Andre Truss. And we also have Christopher Evans, a.k.a. Good Trip, on the set as well. It's exciting, man. We've been waiting on this day to get him in here, to get to sit down.
That's a fact.
We have some great conversations, so it's only right that we brought it to the camera. I mean, we had to. So, without further ado, I want to introduce Chris because the way we met him is kind of crazy. He came in on his own one day. We were just starting up the restaurant. It was nothing in here. It was the old restaurant, the stuff. We had the Flying Mayan still on the wall.
Facts. It was empty as hell.
We had one of those little plastic fold-up tables, three fold-up chairs, and Chris walked in, and, we kind of looked like, who's this guy just walking in? And then from there, it's been up. We've been family ever since. So, Chris, welcome to the show. What's going on, man? What's the deal?
I appreciate y'all for having me, man.
Yeah.
We did meet. The way we met was kind of crazy.
You got to run them through the story. You got to go through the story.
All right, so I was walking through downtown Raleigh looking for different places to display my art and networking with different business owners. That's part of what I do on my off days when I'm not physically painting. And I was actually walking with a broker, a commercial broker here. He was showing me some different spots, and he told me I had to come over here and see the new spot, Flavorhills, that was opening up. And he said he bigged y'all up. He talked highly of y'all. I didn't know what y'all looked like, so that was the dope part.
Chris walked in mad confused. He playing around. He came in, he was looking around. He like, hey, I'm here to speak to the owners. I was told that I should come over here to talk to you guys. And it was Tellers. He was having a combo with Tellers.
Exactly. So it was Tellers that I was told to come see. But I walked in, saw y'all sitting around a fold-up table. And, yeah, that part alone was dope. I was already excited to see black people that was opening up a spot right downstairs from where I am.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's basically how it happened.
It's funny because, like, when you think about, like, how opportunities kind of unfold for you to walk in that day right when – so I'll tell the story on mine, right? So we were literally looking at the walls and we're like, all right, the space needs more color. It needs to pop because we have our orange boost that's a staple to Flavorhills.
Yeah.
And we wanted more color inside the space. So as we were literally like, hey, God, please, we're looking for an opportunity to fill these walls with something. We don't know what it is. Chris walked right in, and it's like, hey, actually, y'all have tons of wall space. This is what I could, offer. And we were already with Flavorhills wanting to bring the creativity, trying to bring the creativity back. So one of the first questions I have for you is, what made you actually come in that day? I know, or what gave you the courage to come in that day? Because even though the broker mentioned it to you, you didn't have to come in. So what actually made you come in, or what gave you the courage to actually walk in?
Right. Well, I know that you guys, well, not just you guys, but opportunities, period, aren't always going to come to me. So I figured that out early on, that a lot of times if I want to make something happen, I have to take the initiative. I have to, want it and then take action to go after it. So this was part of my weekly routine anyway, be to pop in, shake hands with owners and network and meet people. And it just happened to be one of those days. I was on, that same type of time when I met you guys.
Because
So, Barbara, good. Like you said, you made that a part of a routine, which is important. We talk about routines a lot. But we also recognize that many people would have a difficult time with actually walking through the door, let alone building the routine of doing it day in and day out, not knowing if you're going to be told yes or no. The average person is going to tell themselves the answer is no before they give themselves the opportunity to be told no. So, like, how did you go about building that routine? Because I know there had to be a lot of no's there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I always understand that anything is possible. I never think about no's or I can't. Yeah. If anybody around me is even talking like that, it's a turn.
I don't want them around.
Get him out of here.
Get him out of here.
Yeah, so I always see opportunity in every situation.
Yeah.
Even if it is a no, I see the opportunity in that. So as far as what gave me that confidence, I think it just happened over time. It was just more of a trial and error. You know, I tried one way, it didn't work. I made an adjustment, tried it a different way, and I just, you know, over time, after making adjustments and not quitting, I guess that routine is just automatically ingrained.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's just about not quitting. It's
because that's something I noticed is like right now I feel like there's a complete lack of courage out there. I feel like there's a lack of us wanting to take risk and actually pursue the things that we want to pursue in life. But it's like, how do you get ahead?
Yeah.
Right. So like that's why I asked about what gave you the courage to come inside, because I've been in so many situations where if a person had the courage to say yes, the door would have been wide open for them. But they told themselves no so violently up front that they made the no real for themselves, even though it wasn't really a no. It was a big yes. In fact, they would have opened it up. They would have had open arms to you. They would have changed your life. But you decided to say no. And I say that from having those experiences myself.
Facts.
I used to shut doors on myself all the time. That's all I did was shut doors on myself. And it wasn't until one day I'm like, all right, what's on the other side of this door? Is it going to change my life? Because my situation right now, I don't like it. And if I don't go through this door, I don't know if I ever will. And then you go through the door and realize, oh, wow, on the other side is actually some really cool dudes who like looking to help you.
Yeah.
Like you were able to help us. I think that was really dope.
Yeah. It's an interesting concept because like when you get so caught up in like thinking about why, like finding every reason why something won't work for yourself. And once you like learn to flip it and like, you know what? One, let me start thinking about why it can, how it can. And also once you recognize that if there are deficiencies, you have it in your power to close that gap.
Yep.
Right. But you have to do the work to close the gap. Like most people don't take the time to identify it, which is why they keep having the same issues. But it's like, no, things can change. We're never going to start or be where we want to be. There's always another level.
Yeah,
like, there's always another level.
That's
so
a
like,
fact.
Wherever you think you made it, it's somebody else looking at you like, nah, boy, you got some work to do. Right. So keeping that mentality really helps you push through because this is difficult. Right.
It's hard.
It's difficult.
That was one of the reasons we wanted to start the show in the first place. We were just tired of people not having the real talks. Right? It's like at the end of the day, like we all know it's tough. We know what's going on. Like there's a lot going on in the world. So us being able to actually open up and have a real talk is big. So I'm excited to continue to dive into the combo.
So
excited too.
As you can see, like creativity is a huge part of what we like to have within the atmosphere of Flavorhills, right? And I talk about it. We were on the podcast last week with our brother Joffrey, and one of the things we talked about is how being a leader requires you to also be creative, right? And like you're the epitome of creative, right? We've sat down with him like chilling, and he just popped up out of nowhere and creates a masterpiece. Just like, I was inspired right now and started painting. Like, it's dope to see that. Like, I've never seen anything like that.
That Bob Marley piece is still crazy.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and it's like, but it also shows us something different. I've never seen a black artist before, for real. You know what I'm saying? Like, you hear, we learn about the Van Goghs and all those people, but to truly be able to sit down and see, like we're sitting here, I'm looking at things you created right now as we're having a conversation. I feel like that's the flyest thing ever.
I appreciate it. I'm equally impressed by y'all, like what y'all are doing and how y'all carry yourselves and how y'all speak and just show love to everybody. That is mind blowing to me. I don't know if I've been doing something wrong not to be exposed to this at my age, but meeting y'all 4 months ago was like life changing for me. So thank y'all.
I appreciate that, bro.
Thank you, bro.
I definitely appreciate that because we're at a point now where love isn't being put out there as much. Right? Everybody kind of wants to be in arguments or be divided or separated, but I like to think about things on scales. That's like my thing. I always look at it on a scale. So if I had to choose, right, what am I going to put out into the world as a person or a being? Right? I have an option every day to put something out into the world. Right? So if I have a choice in what I'm going to put out into the world and it's between negative or positive, right? Why would I choose anything other than the positive? Because the positive is the positive.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, but it's hard to articulate that in some senses. It's hard to show that.
Yeah.
But the only way that we know how to make that real is to live by it. So every chance we get an opportunity to give somebody an alley-oop or like put somebody on or show some love, it's something that's great. Like I want to do that. I can't wait for it. I get turned up by it. My energy is going up already.
Because it's tough. Because also I think people forget what it's like to not have the support. Right. I vividly remember being in situations where there were people who had the resources and the ability to help and didn't. Right. And so one of the things I think we like to focus on is there's tons of people who need help as well. So we're trying to change the narrative, right? Like, yo, if you're working and doing the things you need to do and taking care of what needs to happen and you truly do want to be better and be a player, yo, you can be with us anytime.
Yep.
Right? Because one of the things we learned is you cannot win this alone. There's not one battle that was won by one person. So why do we think we're any different? Right? Everybody else, you see time and time again, the people that learn like to work together, like just in general, just I don't care who you are, where you from, what you look like. If you're serious about what you're doing and you line up with us, cool, we can push. And now there's power in numbers, right? You think differently than he does and I do. Now we cover more range with how we think as opposed to just being stuck on my thoughts, right? I don't have every answer. And there's a lot of ways that I could run us into the ground if I'm not checked by somebody like him or like you, right? We need both. Like checks and balances are important.
Yeah.
Excuse me. But so trust, like with he was talking about, the checks about making sure like on the podcast, same podcast, he was talking about how he chooses partners, right? And like he chooses partners based off his deficiency, right? So can you explain that a little bit? No,
so I got you. So partnerships are always tricky because when you get into them, most people get into the partnerships based on where they're at and the choices that's available to them at that time. So it's based on the scenario that they're in. They look around and be like, hey, that's my friend. That's somebody that I can trust. We can work well together. That's the recipe for failure every time. I do not recommend that at all. And that's something that I had to learn, like through the mud. I mentioned it on Joffrey Podcast. I've had tons of partners throughout the years. Right? I've been building businesses since I was 13. Like this is the thing that I've always wanted to do. So now being in this position, it kind of comes at a cost. If you don't understand what it means to have a partner, you'll just pick a person randomly, right? So for me, in order for me to get ahead, it's never about whether or not I can get ahead. It's whether or not my deficiency is going to hold me back, right? So for me, the first situation, you could just bring it through, bro. So when it comes to picking a partner, right, the main thing that I want to focus on is understanding the weakness that's holding me back and then trying to fill that gap with a person who's just as energetic, just as serious, just as organized. Appreciate you, bro. Thank you. Right? I want to fill that gap with somebody who's serious about the position, serious about the deficiency. Like I talk about tellers all the time. Logistically, I'm just not that guy, bro. Like, that's not what I do. Like, I can if it's required of me, but I'm a business strategist. I run our finances. To have me doing anything other than that doesn't make sense. But Tells is a savant when it comes to logistics and operations.
Shout out to Tells.
Just shout out to Tells every time. He's a savant when it comes to that. So why would I want to spend time learning all the things my brother is already a master at? Why would I not just want to? That's when the partnership makes sense, because I can fill the business strategy, the organization of the money and finances, and then he can make the ship go, right? Yeah. And then as we continue to expand, it's like we need leadership, development, organization. That's a real thing. That's the thing he specializes in. So I'm not going to go then try to learn these things. It's like, nah, my brother has perfected that. Here's the oop to the bro, right? And we continue to build up and grow in that manner. But I pick partners based on the deficiencies in myself, because the deficiencies is what holds you back. It's never your strength, right? Because you're weak in an area, you start to focus on your weak area versus focusing on your strength. So you want to pick partners that can pick up the weak area so you can continue to get better at the thing you're already strong at.
Facts.
Like that.
Facts.
Makes so much sense.
So what's been new? Like what's been new for you this year, right? We have a phrase we coined for the year 2024, the year of the bag.
Year of the bag.
We're getting to it, right? And that's the the energy we step behind. It's like, so what's, you know, we're seeing you everywhere. Like, it seems like I'm seeing you everywhere now. So like, what's been your motivation and like, what's driving you through this year?
So up until December, around Christmas, really the first of the year, I stopped tattooing.
Okay.
So this year has been more about me being as still as I can and figuring out which direction I want to go, because tattooing took up the last 17 years of my life. So I'm in a space now where, you know, I don't really know what's happening right now.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels right. You know, I'm not sure exactly. So I've been being as creative as I can, networking as much as I can, reading a lot, spending more time learning about myself.
Mm-hmm. Hold on right there. I got to jump in. I got to jump in.
All right.
You said spending more time learning about yourself.
Right.
Talk to me about that.
Well, I think that's more about, I told you all about the self-love show that I'm curating.
Yes.
July 14th.
Tell the people about that.
Let them know.
The self-love show. This is my camera right here,
Yep.
he said?
Yep.
Self-love show, July 14th from 7 to 10 at Good Trip Gallery. And it's basically a show about, obviously, self-love and knowing who you are and knowing that everything you need, you have already.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as me spending time learning about myself, it's just been more reading, meditating. You got me journaling.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Big fan of the journaling. You know me, I'm always gonna slip that in.
He put me on the journaling too.
Yeah. So that's definitely been big for me. But really just spending time being quiet, like spending my mornings different. Like the first 2 hours of my day, I really been intentional about what I'm not consuming. So just trying to get better at that, trying to get better at self-control and self-discipline, making new challenges for myself that I'm not used to. And yeah, just not focusing on things outside of me as much as possible.
Because you mentioned not consuming, right? That's important because each day we have choices, but once again, if you're unaware of the fact that you have a choice, you live as if you don't.
Yep.
Right? So the goal is for everybody to become aware of the fact that they really have choices. We didn't say they'd be easy, but there's choices in there. So one of the major choices that we like to make is what we consume, right? Mentally, right? You might not be aware of what's, being put in front of you and how detrimental it is if you don't check those things, right? So if you got 100 messages coming in each day about nonsense, it literally fragments your mind.
Yeah.
Right? Because if your mind is in 100 different places, your mind isn't on one thing. You know what I'm saying? So like having those things come in, so being intentional in the morning, I'm the same way, bro. Like wake up anywhere, whenever my body naturally wakes up from 4:30 to 6:30 in that range, wake up and it's complete isolation. I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to see anybody. I don't want to hear anything from anyone except my own thoughts so that I can clarify the things that I need to clarify so that I can make the most out of my day. And so you being like, hey, being intentional about what you're consuming is important because just because you're not intentionally consuming it doesn't mean you're not.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like it's in the background, yes. And yes, I'm not focusing on it, but it's still the same thing. Appreciate you, Tamika. Slipping that in there.
Thank you.
The GOAT.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, but that's one of the main things. It's getting to that point where we understand what's going on, making sure that we're aware of it so that we can actually put things in place to actually enact it.
Yeah. And so that consumption one too, that's a good one because I was listening to this podcast one time and they broke it down in a way it's like, comparing what you consume mentally to like food, right? So like if you eat a bag of chips every now and then, it's cool, right? But if you eat chips and all the junk every day, it starts to affect you negatively, your body. And so you think of what you consume mentally the same way. It's like, yeah, watching these things every now and then is cool, but when you consume it every day, it starts to affect you negatively. It's no different than having clogged arteries, right? Except it's your brain now. You can't function, you're fragmented. Now the things that you think matter the most in the world don't really matter. They're not that prevalent. But because you seeing them every day and from your perspective, that's all that's going on. Like, so you have to separate. You really got to withdrawal from that and like really think about what you're consuming, because it's like same way your food. You want to get healthy mentally, you got to do that the same way.
I love that. Yeah, and I heard you say about having a choice, like choosing positive or negative.
Yeah,
like that's super real. Like, and that was a huge thing for me, understanding that I do have the choice to decide how I want my life to be. I don't have to react to what's happening around me.
Yeah.
So just that alone is making things move a lot faster for me and my self-growth.
So what was it like, one of the times we were having a convo, what was it like for you being basically on your own for so much time, walking in and seeing us and how much we collaborate with others? What was that experience like?
Well, it was motivating. It was definitely motivating. Trying to put myself back at that day.
It seemed like forever ago, don't it? It seemed like I know you like 30 years.
In fact, like, just to put it in perspective, we just really locked in with Chris 4 months ago, and I can't picture my life without him.
Yeah, it's like you always been here.
It's crazy.
But what it was like was definitely motivating, and it made me realize I've been doing shit wrong. Like I've been trying to figure out. I've been really doing everything, like you said, by myself for a long time.
Yeah,
and I've had more of a competitive mind state in the art world. Like I needed to make sure I position myself I had to make sure I position myself a certain way in the art world for me to succeed.
Yeah.
But that was definitely the wrong mentality, especially just seeing how y'all perfectly mesh together doing different things. So it let me know that I needed to build a team around what I'm trying to do instead of doing it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
I remember reading a quote. I can't remember what book it was in, but he said, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. And if you want to go far, go with others.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that didn't really resonate until I met y'all and saw what y'all were doing and how fast y'all are making things happen. Even this podcast is crazy. I heard y'all talking about it, and now it's like happening. So
we don't like to waste time, bro.
I see.
I don't like to waste time at all.
But yeah, seeing y'all when I walked in that day definitely was just motivating. That's basically what I was feeling.
I would say that piece with the flash to bang to doing things. We talk about that a lot, and a lot of our people we mentor, I know we've had some conversations about it. And like, I think a lot of people get caught in a trap where they focus so much on like trying to get everything perfect, or like they forget that like you have to start. Right? Like they think that they're going to find all the answers before they actually make the thing a thing, not realizing that you're going to learn more about the thing in it than you will trying to like go out and read books and let me see if somebody put a YouTube video out on it. Like, there's things that we've learned from the different ventures we've been on that they can never tell us in a book. You know, like experience really teaches you things. Now, don't get me wrong. Books, we read a lot of books.
Yeah.
Books have their place.
Yeah.
But books don't replace the experience that you get from actually getting into it. I think people run into scenarios where they start to stay in that planning phase because they're scared of what might happen on the other side instead of really being. But now back to what you said about having a group, that gets cut down when you know you have multiple capable people with you. Like, all three of us can't be wrong. I might be wrong, and that's what'll hold me back. Like, man, well, what if this? Well, I need to ask this person. Well, this ain't perfect. Whereas we might really sit down and like spend the day and like, all right, this makes sense. Push, tomorrow is execution time. Yeah. That would have took me 3 months alone.
Right.
A day versus 3 months is hard to compete, but like, how do you see that? Like you said, until you actually see it. Right. And so that's one of the things we've seen with just having the restaurant in general. So many people who are like, wow, I've never seen anything like this. I'm inspired to do more. I'm inspired to be more. And it's like, wow, this is the impact that this can have. Like, they never seeing black men work together. Yeah, we work together. We can work together efficiently.
And we work all very well together.
You know, like, and so painting a different narrative has been really important for us. And like, stuff like this allows us to do it. And it's been dope meeting other capable people because we're out here. They're out here, but everybody's fragmented and most people are trying to work by themselves. We started off by ourselves, like, yeah, him and Tails, I was doing my own thing. But when you want to reach newer levels, you realize that, like, bro, there's no way you're going to do it alone. You just can't.
Yeah, because you need, one of the things is, like, going back to what you're saying about perfection. So perfection is procrastination. Like, that's just the excuse that we give ourselves. I'm a perfectionist. No, you're not. You just haven't started. You know what I'm saying? So going back to where she was saying, something can't be perfected unless it's ruined to become better. You see what I'm saying? So imagine saying that you're a perfectionist without taking into consideration other people's opinions. That doesn't make any sense. That means you're not actually open to the thing being perfect, right? So the only way to get other people's opinions is to start the thing that you're starting, understanding that you're not building it for yourself. Like, we're not building Flavorhills for us.
Yeah.
That's why we listen to the feedback from our customers so aggressive in terms of, these things aren't working. Okay, we got to get it off because we're building it for the people, right? We still got to keep it within parameters. We're still running a business,
Yeah.
right? But the reason that things happen so fast is we don't waste time pretending that we're trying to make something perfect. You can't make it perfect without it being refined by others. All right, so that's something that we focus on aggressively, and we take that serious. And as we go, a part of our business model is designed around not being perfect and letting those who are going to patronize our business determine what perfection is. Right? Because if you're thinking about perfection from your lens, might not be what the customer's thinking, bro. Right? So you're wasting time thinking about what the customer wants versus asking them.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But the reason is because the perfectionism is procrastination. It's designed to be that way to give us an excuse. All right. So that was something that was big for us, was, when are we going to take that serious? I'm done with the talks. I don't like talking around and wasting time and playing. It's either we're going to do it or we're not going to do it.
Yep.
And if you're serious about doing it, let's put some processes in place. If you're not serious about doing it, then don't waste time.
Yep.
Right? Because you need to be honest with yourself about what's going on. And a lot of us aren't honest with ourselves. And the moment our life really started to change, bro, is when we just got radically honest with ourselves.
Facts. That's a fact.
It makes a lot of sense. I like
radically honest with ourselves.
Man. But this is crazy, bro. Like, it's crazy. Sitting here now, like, it's just so surreal, like, thinking about how far things have come in such a short amount of time.
Right.
Even you, like, watching you and the things you're doing and, like, implementing, out here moving and shaking.
Chris been turning up, by the way. He's all over the place, flying back and forth between different spots, setting up different stores, networking, getting his business portfolio up, building, his gallery. It's very beautiful to see from our end. You mentioned earlier, seeing us and being inspired, right?
Right.
But you've been out here building a name for yourself just off faith for years.
Yeah.
That's one of the most, it's very inspiring from our end. So, but to also see that you're able to take criticism and want to build from it, right? And then give criticism back and allow us to build from it. That's something that's also not talked about, a lot just in general, period, of us being able to lean on a friend for the advice that they can give, right? It's like, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Yeah.
Right? If I had an opportunity, I was talking in Joffrey's episode where I had mentioned that, that's the OG leaving now. But I was talking in Joffrey episode, and I was mentioning that as you start to build your company, the decisions that you're going to be making get tougher. But they get tougher because you have to start realizing that you need help. All right? That's why they get tougher. It's to put the pressure on you for you to be like, either you're going to keep holding it in, or you're going to overflow and be like, you know what, I need help. Let me give an opportunity to somebody who can help me. Right? Because when you start to think about it, it's like, naturally when I first came into business, I was nervous about employing people because I felt like I was taking advantage. Right? That was something that was like a personal thing for me. But I was like, nah, this person would never have had that opportunity had we not taken this risk to now put them in a better position. All right? So I take what we do now with employment super serious. All right? But as you're building the company out, when you're making these employment decisions, you have to start turning it over to other people to give you their advice and their good thought processes and all the things that they know that you're not equipped to know. Because I was out in the park and I'm hanging out, I'm having a good time, and this dude walks into the park with a hoodie on, a mask on, and just all black in a family park where people are with their kids.